Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome to the Christopher Marc Show. So today I have the privilege of being in front of a, you know how like you hear about a person and you don't believe that they do all the things that they do? Well, this is that person. Um, Megan, can you tell everybody your full name and what do you do?
My name is Meghan Cassidy, and I am a full-time high school Spanish teacher. I am also a personal trainer and nutrition specialist for a gym in California, Maryland. I also have an online business. It's called Rise Up Training and Nutrition, where I help online clients with their training and nutrition programs. And here shortly, I will also be enlisting into the Air National Guard to serve my country.
Y'all see? You see? Yeah.
And I'm also a fitness competitor, so I am also in prep right now for a show.
You see? Like, sooner or later, she's going to be an action figure. I'm serious. All right. So,
Maybe, yes.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would be like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, can I get the Megan doll? Like, you know. So, let me ask you this. So, how did you get started? When did you like the fitness become a passion for you?
Well, I was always big into sports growing up. I was a cheerleader all through high school. I did all-star. So I was, tumbling and doing all of the crazy things that you see on ESPN with the girls. And so the idea of, healthy lifestyle for me was just kind of like a normal thing. Like I was like, okay, I'm doing the thing. And then I started to realize that over time, I was not actually living a healthy lifestyle. I struggled with an eating disorder in college. So that was something that was hard to overcome. And I had some body dysmorphia issues as well, struggled with body image. And it wasn't until I was going through my divorce that I realized that I needed to change some things in my life. And I used running as my outlet to get my stress out. And I turned into a runner, which I never thought in a million years I would ever run a race of any kind. But I've run a number of races, 10 milers, 5Ks, half marathons, and I ran the Philly Marathon in 2014 as well. And then from there, it was kind of like, okay, I like how I look, but I want my muscles to look differently. So then I started working out in the gym, and I wanted to become a Philadelphia Eagles cheerleader, which didn't happen, but I followed this 12-week bikini body plan that I found on bodybuilding.com, and I started that, and I started to see my body changing, and I was like, oh, this is fun. So I didn't make the squad, which was totally fine. And then from there, I had a friend who mentioned bodybuilding to me and competing. And 2016, I stepped on stage for the first time. Some of the trophies that are actually up here are from that show. I won 2 first place and 2 second place trophies at my first competition, and I fell in love with competing and watching my body transform, and then fell more in love with the nutrition aspect of it, especially being in off season and working towards, building a better body for myself, to live a healthy, sustainable lifestyle outside of competing.
That's amazing. Like,
Thanks.
I think that's the thing. It's like when you dedicate yourself to it, it takes a lot of work, but it's like you get the result of it, and then it becomes this habit of like, hey, you know what, I'm at it, and this is what I love, and so that's amazing. So let me ask you this. So in your journey, what would you say was the most impactful moment where you realized that this was something that was essentially your calling?
I would say probably when my father came to me for advice on how he could get in better shape. And, growing up in a household was filled with sports and 2 brothers, dad was always the top of it. And, everybody went to dad for all of the things. And when he finally came to me and asked me for advice, I was like, oh, maybe I actually do know what I'm doing. And then from there, I was like, okay. So I got my nutrition certification, and I completed my master's degree last spring from American University in nutrition education. So I just kept going with it, and then started little by little helping people achieve their own goals. And from there, I think just the fulfillment that I get when my clients reach a certain milestone is enough for me to keep going. Their own level of motivation then also motivates me to do a better job too, because I'm setting an example for them. So I can't be sitting on the couch eating potato chips and pizza and all of that sort of stuff. I have to, practice what I preach. And that's kind of, and I abide by that too, for sure. I do enjoy pizza though, and donuts. Don't get me wrong.
So a person, let's say for example, you're helping a client, right? How do you help them to balance between, hey, I love these things, these are foods that I love, and also making sure that they're living within like the healthy lifestyle so they can achieve their goals?
So I create a personalized meal plan for each client. So I have a client who loves having a Reese's peanut butter cup or a piece of dark chocolate every day. It's something that I put into his plan for him to have, so that way he could get that little piece and still kind of keep himself sane at the same time. The goal is, I would say it's probably more 80 to 90% spot on, and then you can have a little wiggle room of about 10 to 20%. You obviously can't go overboard on certain things, and sometimes clients will say, well, I need to have this in my diet, like a Dixie cup that has ice cream. Okay, that's fine. That's like 50 calories. I can work that in. But if you're going to tell me that you need to have like 6 donuts every week, I'm going to tell you no. So there's certain parameters, I think. But when people come to me, they know that. So they don't go in with an expectation that they're going to be able to continue to eat the things that they've been eating, because obviously it's not doing their body a good deed. I mean, it's actually doing them a disservice by eating the certain things that they do.
Right. So what would you say is was the hardest one to put together for a client? Was there one that was hard, or was it one that was like, most of them were easy for you?
I would say each one is hard in its own way. And the reason I say that is because each client is different. Each person has a different body. Each person's body adapts differently to proteins, carbs, and fats, and the combination of all 3 of your macronutrients that you have. The difference, though, in terms of fats and carbs is really big, because some people are fat sensitive, some people are carb sensitive, and some people are just kind of balanced in between. So they do fine with either one. When someone comes to me and they have a lot of medical issues, and they say, I have diabetes, I have heart disease, I have X, Y, and Z, then the first step obviously is to make sure that their doctor is, in the know when it comes to what they're doing with me and the nutrition aspect of it. So I make sure to, to get that okay from their doctor, that they can work with me, because I don't do medications or anything like that. But I want to make sure that what I'm doing is going to coincide with what they're doing with their, their primary physician, their medical specialist. So when someone has a lot of, we'll call them conditions and issues, those tend to be harder to do. But it really is all about whole foods, and you can do a lot with your body and help your body transform and actually get out of certain conditions by just changing your lifestyle and changing your activity and your diet too. It all goes in full circle. A lot of times people will become pre-diabetic, or they'll have diabetes and not realize it. A lot of times you can avoid those pieces from happening, unless they're the hereditary. Like the hereditary ones, like you can't, the ones that are genetic, you cannot do anything about those. But when it comes to the people that get it over time throughout their life because of their lifestyle factors, there's ways that we can, avoid that from even getting to that point, or even get to a point where we can try to reverse it just with diet.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of research on that too. So if people are wondering about it.
Man, okay. All right. I'm making sure I cover all the angles, guys. So I want to make sure you know a little bit of everything. All right. So in your journey, as far as, doing bodybuilding and things like that, what was the hardest, what was the hardest thing about it? Like, was it the part of your routine, or was it the part of, like, as far as like your dieting routine, or was it the exercise?
Um, I do apologize if you hear dogs in the background. They're playing in the other room.
Not,
Um,
I'm getting better editing tools and everything. I can cut out a lot of stuff now.
okay, okay. Um, so training has never been an issue for me. I love going to the gym. I love lifting weights and pushing myself to lift heavier weights every time I go. Uh, I would say honestly, the first thing that was hard for me was eating 6 meals a day.
Ooh.
When I met with my first coach, Brian Chamberlain, back in 2016, I met him in May and I stepped on stage in July. So I was a 7-week prep, which was, don't ever do that. It's stupid. I was in a good place though to be able to do that. But he put me in eating 6 meals a day. And I looked at him and I was like, Brian, you want me to eat all of this in one day? Now, if I don't eat my 6 meals a day, I'm like ravenous. So, I mean, your body does obviously adapt to it over time. But there's smaller meals throughout the day. They're not, huge 700-800 calorie meals. They're more like 200 to 300 calorie meals that you eat progressively throughout the day. But I would say that was probably the hardest thing for me, because I don't mind getting up early and doing my cardio in the morning. It's kind of like my me time, away from everybody. I enjoy going to the gym, people coming up to me. It's kind of like, well, I actually have a hoodie that says the gym is my therapy, because I do use that time to really kind of zone into myself and focus on me too, which is nice. And then when my fiance is able to go with me, it's nice to train with him too.
Do you think that when people work out, right, like, how does it help people emotionally? Like, what does it do emotionally for people, would you say? Like, for your journey, like, how does it help you emotionally?
I would say that the biggest piece is it's a stress reliever, at least for myself, being able to, even if let's say I have a bad lift. Well, any lift that you have is a good lift no matter what. So I don't ever look at it as a negative in that regard. But somebody's like, oh, I have a bad lift today. No, you didn't. You had a lift. Like, be glad that you went to the gym and got it done. But for the mental aspect of it, I think it provides people and myself a lot of clarity. You're able to push everything outside and turn on your music and just zone into your workout, your run, your walk, whatever it is that you're doing, and really only have to worry about that in that moment. And they do say, working out gives off endorphins. Endorphins make people happy. Elle Wood said it in Legally Blonde, so I want to make sure I quote that. But it's true, there is such a thing as a runner's high. I ran 2.5 miles at the end of my workout today, and I just was in a better place. I don't know if that's like a whole mental thing in itself, but I think it's true, because you just feel better about yourself after you do it. No matter how hard of a workout it was, once you're done, that feeling of relief is like, oh yes, I did it. Okay. And then you're like, okay, now it's tomorrow. I can move on to the next day. But you still, I really try to focus my clients, especially on the positive aspect of it, that even though it's hard, even though you're sweating, your sweat is your fat crying. Like, it's a real thing. Like, it is going bye-bye, like, just keep reminding yourself that you're doing your absolute best in this moment. And that's all you can do.
I think being committed to that says a lot about who you are as a person. You know what I mean? Because sometimes with people, they start anything in life. I mean, whether you're focusing on your health or focusing on a career, or focusing on anything, it does require a lot of commitment. And to be able to do that is like, that's impeccable, honestly. What is your favorite exercise?
That's a good one, because I have some, because it depends on the body part, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I would say probably my most fun days of training are shoulders. I love training my shoulders. I'm not really a huge fan of back day, but back day is what it is. And I like training my glutes.
Okay.
Trying to, build the booty. So, but I would say probably I do a lot of work with dumbbells. I do, side lateral raises, upright rows. I do these things called up and outs, which a lot of people are like, what's an up and out? I mean, you either take a barbell or dumbbells and you start like you're going to do an upright row and you bring it up and then you just push it out and you bring it back down. But I mean, it's really up and out, but it works their shoulders like crazy. So that's one of my favorites, probably.
Got you. And what is your go-to cheat meal?
Oh, that's a good one. My go-to cheat meal would have to be a bacon cheeseburger with guacamole and sweet potato fries. Yeah. Sometimes we switch it up though, and we'll do like bacon cheeseburgers with fried onions and some barbecue sauce. It's really any kind of burger. I have had a peanut butter bacon burger. That was amazing.
Okay.
Whoever thought to put peanut butter on a burger is a genius.
Okay. That's I gotta try. I'm like, man, did you do you have like a sugary thing, like a sweet tooth, whether it's like a candy, a burger, or not a burger, a donut, or
Well, I do love donuts. I do. I would say probably when it comes to candy, my favorite candy would be Reese's peanut butter cups. Peanut butter all day. Okay. I love Reese's Pieces too. And I like Fruit Adventure Tic Tacs.
Okay.
That's random. Super random, but I do like them.
Okay. So when you how like people when they step into doing things that are hard, do you have an alter ego, or is it just you?
I would say it's probably just me, but I'm one of those people that I'm like, you got this, Megan. You can do this. Come on. Like, just figure it out. You got this. You can do it. I almost like pump myself up in the moment, especially when I'm doing my fitness routine stuff, because that stuff's hard. And I'm like, okay, one more time. You can do this. You know the steps. And then I'll just go through them in my head. I mean, I kind of almost like give myself a little pep talk. But not in turn. Well, I will say though that people tell me at the gym I'm very intimidating when I work out, and they don't like to come up to me and talk to me. But I think that's probably because I just get in the zone, and I'm there to lift. I'm not there to have a conversation. Like, I will talk to you and I will be nice and friendly, but reality is I'm there to train. So I'm not trying to be a you-know-what, but at the same time, it's a gym. Come on.
Okay, so when people see you, right, how do you think you come off? I mean, like, if you had to describe, like, what is how does your energy come off to people?
Well, people always say that I'm always very energetic. A former principal of mine used to call me a firecracker.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense because, born on July 5th, I'm a firecracker in itself. So I think I would say most people probably would say that I have, that I'm always smiling, because I am always smiling. I don't usually ever have RBF, unless I'm like really upset that I don't have that. But I think because of how intense I train, that's why people get intimidated by me and how I look.
So let me ask you this. What is when you are working on yourself, like, who do you aspire to be? Like, do you have a role model? Do you have someone that you look up to? Anyone that,
Well, the only person that I aspire to be is me. And to be my absolute best self. And by constantly working on myself, I am becoming a better version of me. In terms of people that I look up to, or role models that I have, I would say my dad. He is probably my number one. He is my rock, 100%. And yes, I am daddy's little girl. And I always will be. And he knows that too. But But I mean, I have, certain role models in my life, like my fiance, just for other reasons. He provides me with so much support and motivation in itself, and he also helps me to become a better version of me, by pushing me to do things outside of my comfort zone, and um, like joining the military, even though that was something I thought about doing prior to being with him. He is in the military, so, but he was finally like, well, why not? And I was like, okay. um, but other than that, I mean, I pretty much keep my circle pretty close, and private. But I mean, there are people that I look up to in terms of, like IFBB pros, that I work with. There's one right now. I'm working with Miss Fitness International on my routine for this year. Her name's Jacqueline. I look up to her as a role model in the fitness world. So I think for different areas of my life, I have a different role model, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. So, with where you're at now, and looking at all your accomplishments thus far, like, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about, hey, I've done all these things?
Pretty darn proud of myself.
There's a lot of there's awards up there. Like, there's literally awards.
Well, and that's not all of them.
Oh, that's not all.
No, there's also this.
What's this? What
it's
is
an
that?
axe. It's an axe.
I mean, I know it's an axe, but like, what did you do for it?
I won an overall title at a show. I also have 7 swords, that are not hanging up yet, but the fiance wants to get them hung up. And then I also have title belts as well, because I won entire shows, and lots of medals.
I mean, man, it's just like, I'm glad I asked. Don't stop by their house. I'm telling you right now, don't. There's too many swords.
There's swords and guns and all kinds of things. We got a military home here.
Well, just have me call and double check.
Yes. And we have 3 dogs, and one of them is a German Shepherd who is a military dog.
So now let's go into this. So how do you feel about, getting into the military, and how do you feel about that?
I'm actually really excited. And that might sound weird, to say that I'm excited to go into the military, but I thought about it a while ago. But it was the age, I was right before the cusp. Like, I was turning 37 when I looked into it, and I think it was the Navy, and you had to be 36 or younger. I didn't realize that there were waivers and certain things, and people, could help you achieve that goal if you really wanted to. My grandfather was in the Army. He was in World War II. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. He earned a Purple Heart. My other grandfather was in the Korean War. He was in the Navy. So even though I didn't personally grow up in a military household, because my father was in the mortgage business, the thought of it excites me to a level of pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, and having to go through basic training, and having to go to tech school, and doing something that is not only serving my country, but that is also making me a better person. Because I truly believe that people who are in the military they're pretty darn good people. For the most part. There are some bad eggs, don't get me wrong, as there is with anything in this world. But the idea of going into a career field that is so far left of what I'm used to is also something that I'm excited about, because I get to learn. And being a teacher, you are constantly learning. You are forever an educator, and you are forever a student as well. So the idea that I am going to get to learn something completely new, it makes me excited. I'm like a nerd about it. My fiance was like, "You just love school." I'm like, "I do." And he's like, "This is why you're going to excel." I'm like, "Well, I hope so." But just the thought of it, and doing something that's going to set me up for better success in a financial standpoint also gives me a big sigh of relief. Just because, I don't ever want to struggle and things like that. But the military offers so many great benefits and different things that people who aren't in the military don't have access to. But I also think it's also kind of exciting too, because it's something that I can bond with my fiance with, even though he's going to be retiring and I'm going in. But the goal is to outrank him by the time I'm done.
Okay. Okay. So we know who's it's going to be this competition in the household. So you're just, it's going to be a low key competition, but it's going to be there.
Yes. But the reality is I have my degrees. He does not have degrees. So I can become an officer where he can't. So
Gotcha.
Yeah. So there's just little differences there.
Do y'all see what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes. I am all about competition, though. Bring it on.
Listen.
Yes.
I would tell anyone. I'd be like, "Oh, they're going to get in the race with Meghan." Listen, go home.
I will throw some bows. I will do whatever it takes to get to that finish line before you do.
Just go home.
Pretty much. There's the door. Goodbye.
Just go home, man. If you don't want to get embarrassed, it's okay. It's all right.
Yes.
So, let me ask you this last question, Meghan. So, what, if you had to encourage someone who was walking your path, what would you tell them to keep them motivated?
Probably the same thing I tell myself. One day at a time. Win each and every day, and you get to start over tomorrow.
I like that. Because I think it gives people a chance to stay. And I think that's the one thing I like about you is like you're very practical. It's not like you're like, hey, like tomorrow we're going to climb a mountain. You're more like, okay, here's the mountain. Let's just do one step at a time and then see how you get to the top of the mountain. And I think that's the best way to look at it. Because some people can look at certain people and easily just get intimidated because they're like, oh, how did all this happen? But they don't realize like it's early mornings, there's late nights, and that level of dedication is just amazing. Yeah.
It takes a lot, and you have to walk first before you can run. Rome wasn't built in a day, and unfortunately for a lot of people, what they don't realize is that it takes less time to put on all of the fat than it does to get it off. It takes more time. It takes longer to put on to get off what you've put on. And a lot of people, they struggle with it because they don't see changes. And even if you don't see changes, your body is still doing what it's supposed to do if you're following a plan. You have to be consistent. If you, fall off the wagon one day and fly off the rails and have, 16 cheeseburgers and whatnot. Okay, that was yesterday. Today is a new day. Start each day being grateful that you wake up and go from there.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. So, Meghan, if people was very brave in letting you lead and help them to conquer the world the way you've done,
yes.
How can people find you online in order to connect with you?
The easiest way is through Instagram.
Okay.
My Instagram handle is at mcassfit_0705. Just shoot me a DM. My Facebook is private because I'm a teacher, so that's just what it is. But shoot me a DM and let's get chatting.
Awesome. Meghan, I admire you, for everything you've accomplished because, And I think that, even though you've done so much, there's always this energy about you that just says, like, I have more to do. And then somebody looks at, like, oh, but how much have you done? I've done all this. And it's just like, oh. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing for some people. They'll typically, if they've accomplished half of what you accomplished, they would typically stop. So it says a lot about you that you're able to, despite all the things you've accomplished, you still want more. You still want to achieve more. And that's amazing.
Well, we only have one life to live, and there is that saying YOLO. So,
I know, but there's some people just like they don't want as much. You know what I mean? And I think but like there's a lot of things where people can just find the simplest thing and be content. But then there's also people where it's like the fact that you're able to do all the things you've done, help as many people as you've done. Like I said, it just says a lot about who you are. You're an amazing person.
Well, thank you.
No problem. No problem at all. Thank you for being on the show. All right.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you guys learned a lot. Okay. There are awards out there where you can get swords. Okay. The axes, they hand them out. I don't know what you have to do to get them. Make people know. So if you want to reach out to her and find out how to get sword awards, you can get it. I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope you enjoy. Peace.